This series of tapes will be covering the Bridge series' first three books by John J. Bonner. It'll be a little bit different than you're accustomed to if you're accustomed to listening to tapes of books. The reason for that is that the author is doing the reading and can add certain details that were not given in the book, which is what I do intend to do. So starting with the beginning of the book and understanding that that this information was given and that there are a they who gave it, and so I will be referring to that part that is given by them as from them or they. So to start out with, they gave me the intent. And they said, man has been told all manner of things about why he is here. The church, papers, television, parents, books have all had their influence. With all these influences of such authority, man surely knows by now exactly what life is all about. To prove that statement, we can move away from humanity out into space, rest for a time pondering man, and then look back. As we examine his actions and his activities, we would see a continuity, the sameness of purpose, and easily recognized oneness of the community of Earth. No? Then those in authority have explained why there is no concert of action, and each man knows what to expect while he's here on Earth. There is no suffering by man that is caused just by the fact that he doesn't understand what's happening to and around him. He has been told why nations war, why there is disease and death, and why happily ever after doesn't work. No? Surely man knows these things. The truth couldn't be hidden from him, leaving him a miserable, furless monkey, hiding in his massive caves, building ever building, much like a colony of ants who have lost their queen and must go on with empty action. If you are a miserable, furless monkey who hides, then you need to read on. To you who are winning the games of man with nothing but the wonders of life before you, do not read on. Rather burn the books. Burn the books. For when others find out the games you win will lose their thrill, the riches you gain will buy little to hold your interest. Your slaves will begin looking elsewhere for their orders. What reward if there is no one here to cheer for you? What reward if you find that you're not even playing the real game, and they have found out? And so we have the intent. In examining the intent, which is quite short, but still seems to be pretty full of questions, concepts, thoughts. The intent was given to give you an understanding of what was coming next, what this is all about, what can you expect. And what they're trying to present to you here is that kind of trying to make you decide that perhaps you better think about life, because what they're saying is you're going about life as if man was told exactly why he was here, and you understand everything, and everything's happy and wonderful, and there's a few little things here. And if you were to step back from man and take a good look at him, you would see this understanding, this complete comprehension of how things are in the world. And as if you could picture them standing on a stage, they would say, now you see this oneness of purpose, and man understands everything, and everything is fine. And they're looking out in the audience, and people are, no, I don't think that's true, and kind of head shaking, and they're saying, no? Well, okay, if you don't really understand what life is all about, at least the people in authority have told you why these things are occurring, why these things that you don't understand are occurring, and make some explanation of it, and make it clear to you that disease is definable and explainable, and death is understandable, and war is understandable, and why happily ever after doesn't work. And they're standing there on the stage, and again they're looking out in the audience, and no, that's something we don't know, and they're looking at the people, and they're kind of saying no, and so they say, no again? You mean you haven't even been told that? And then they say, surely you've got to know these things. It couldn't be hidden from you, leaving you just a kind of a miserable, and they call you a furless monkey. That isn't a very commentary on man, but I mean, think of it as their view. Here you are, a furless monkey, hiding in your caves. I'm assuming they're talking about buildings now, living in buildings kind of like ants, building and going on building with no purpose. I mean, if the queen's gone in an ant colony, what purpose do they have for building? It's done. There are no more queens. The colony will die. Building is purposeless. And so they say, if you are one of these furless monkeys who's hiding in these buildings, if you will, read on. But if you are those who are absorbed in the games of man and you're winning them and you're just, loving life, burn the books. Why? Because when others find out, the games that you're playing as winners are going to lose their thrill. And because when these people read these books and find out what the truth is, you're going to lose your people. You're going to lose the people that are cheering for you. You're going to lose the people that respect you. You're going to lose the people that honor you. You're going to lose the people that are looking up to you. So burn the books. And that kind of completes the intent, which kind of tells you we now that are standing on stage talking to you, we're going to tell you things that will help you to understand why you are here, what it's all about, and thereby ruin the games of man to the extent that maybe those who are running the games of man today are going to be very unhappy. So the next part in the books is the preface, and in the preface it's kind of like, before we get into the books themselves, let us explain a few things to you about what you're going to see here, and maybe it'll help you to come into the beginning of the books with an understanding of what to expect, and maybe it'll help you to understand it better. So the next part in the Bridge series is the preface, and in the preface they say, there are things that have to be said to those who have never been introduced to this type of work before. We have all heard someone say it at one time or another. What is it all about? Why are we here anyway? Why did he have to die so young? What is the purpose to all this? It doesn't make any sense. What are you hearing? The proof is all around us that people just don't understand what is going on. We intend to answer those questions for each person who can read this and have it ring true to their soul. You will know who you are as you read this, because as each idea is presented, you will be saying to yourself, I knew that somewhere deep inside me. I never had it put into words before, but I knew it. Somewhere in there I knew it. It was for you that this was written. All others are welcome to read and glean what they can. For some it will ring true. Others will find what is written here goes against all they believe or have been taught. Still others will find themselves falling somewhere between the two groups. Let us explain it this way. Where you come from will determine what you see. And here they are going to stop, kind of give you some imaginary examples of that very statement. Where you come from will determine what you see in these books. And it's very important to understand that where you come from will color what you've been taught, what your parents taught you, what your nationality is, all the things that you are going to affect what you see here. And they want you to understand that the truth isn't selective. It isn't just for a certain group. It's for everybody. Even if you come from different directions, it's still for everybody. And so this is the imagining part of what they're going to give you. And this is what they say. Imagine, if you will, one of those old wagon wheels with the spokes that come together at the center or hub. Place the wheel on the ground and enlarge it greatly so that people can walk on it. Now imagine a huge group of people walking all around the rim of the wheel. They are mulling around out there, talking and playing the games that monkeys do. Ever so often, one or two of them will step off the rim and begin to move along the spoke toward the hub. In this instance, or in this example, the hub is the truth. The spokes are the way to the truth. Here's the problem. You have been taught that you can only approach the truth from one direction. We have people approaching the hub, which now is the truth, from many directions. How can that be? Worse, imagine that these people who are moving toward the hub are able to talk to each other because they have been taught that the truth is only one direction. There's going to be a conflict. The ones going south along the spoke have a newly found direction that they know will lead toward the truth. And they're right. There's another group going to the north along the spoke, and they too believe that the truth is just ahead. They're also right. Now we have two people moving opposite directions, and they are both saying they are going to the same place. How many wars, how many deaths, how much suffering because we just don't understand this concept. And now they're going to give you another example. If that one wasn't clear enough, I mean, you got to look at it. If this wagon wheel, if you will, was out there in the sand and people were walking around it and doing whatever they're doing, and at any point on that wheel decided to move toward the hub, which they describe as the truth, the hub is the truth, then wouldn't they be moving in, like there's all kinds of people moving in every different direction, and they're all saying, aha, I found the secret. You don't have to stay out here in the rim. You can move in here on these spokes. And the closer they get to the truth, the more they know they're getting to the truth. And so they're really excited about it, but they see somebody else coming from the other direction, and they're saying, I'm moving to the truth. Where are you going? And that person coming toward them is saying, I'm going to the truth too. And they say, no, you're going the wrong direction. See, you're supposed to be going south, and you're going north. And they say, no, north is the direction, and you're going in the wrong direction because you're going south. So you can see that it's a pretty good example of if what they're saying is true and the truth is not one way, but maybe many ways that you can get to the truth. We got to stop saying there's only one way and say there are many ways, paths for you to get to the truth, because there's so many different kinds of people. So it would only make sense that there are many ways. So they go on to another imagery, if you will. And they say, again, it is said that truth is light. Allow us to change the hub of the wheel, which represents truth, to light. This will give us a different view of the same concept. We want you to see why all of us don't see this work as ringing true. For those of you who have never lived in an area that has snow, some extra imagination is necessary. For those of you who have never lived in the north or where there is this kind of snow, you really do have to use your imagination, because it's quite a phenomenon. If you get into the exact right kind of snow, it's kind of a crystalline snow that has just one face to it. You step out into get out in the morning in the sunshine, and you look out at the snow, and it's just like a billion diamonds just glistening. I mean, it's almost an unbelievable thing. It's just absolutely gorgeous. If you were out at night and there's a street light, and you get to walk, you see these. It really, they just kind of jump out at you. They're just brilliant pieces of light, and the snow that doesn't form this exact angle to the light, nothing, just coal black. So this is what they're trying to explain. So those of you who haven't seen this crystalline snow, we're going to have to use your imagination, but I'll go on with what they say. At times it snows a crystalline type of snow. When the snow is on the ground and there's a single light source, the snow sparkles like a million jewels scattered in the darkness. As you stand there looking at the snow, only the crystals that form the correct angle between you and the light source reflect the sparkling radiance to your eyes. All other crystals are dark, and it could be said they don't have the light. Now you move ever so slightly in any direction. The flakes that were so brilliant just a second ago are now dark, and a new group take their place. Another step will bring another group into the light, and so on. Now stretch the picture even further. You become the light source, and you are everywhere at once. What you will see is that every flake is shining, every single flake, every one. For one brief second, you are transported from seeing as most people do, standing still and seeing clearly that only the special few have the light, to omniscience, realizing that each and every one has light. We hope this helps you understand why to some this work will be light and to others it will be darkness. If it doesn't agree with your beliefs, we hope that you will read on anyway. You never know what a step one way or the other might bring. And so now you've heard their example of the crystalline snow, and having brought it even a step further, can you imagine, you can see this crystalline snow and you move a little bit, step into ones that were shining bright, and they really do, they really leap right out of the darkness right at you. You could almost, you feel like you could almost reach out and take these little diamond sparkles. But that's the way they look at night, especially. They you kind of lose that ability to see depth. And it almost looks like you reach out and scoop up these gorgeous little diamond pieces of light. And the ones that aren't sparkling, of course, are black. And they're not bright at all. They're like no light. And then they give you the example of trying to make you see things the way perhaps a God would see it, where every single, and they're actually talking about people, you understand. Every single person has the light. It's just that you're not in the right place to see it. If you could get to the right place, you would see it. If you were God, you would see all these crystalline pieces of snow sparkling at the same time. You would see all these human beings having the light. Something that we just have a very difficult time. I mean, there are people that you know don't have the light because they're scummy, crummy, awful people. But they're trying to get you to open your eyes and see that maybe there's a truth that you're not aware of. Maybe you've been told there's only one way. There's only one group of people that are that have the truth, that are shining and bright, and all the rest are not there. They're going the wrong direction. Do you see what they're trying to say? They're trying to point out to you, they're actually trying to open your mind to a different perspective. I want you to see things that there's a possibility that maybe you've been told something that isn't true. Maybe there are more truths to life here on earth than you kind of at first thought. So that's the first effort they're making to open your eyes. Then they go on, because there's more to it than that they want you to know before you even start reading the book itself. So they say, there are other things about this work you must know. First, there are new ideas presented here which suggest new ways to look at things and new things to try. We intend that these ideas and directions be used as a focus for your attention. Of the millions of ways a person might try to live a better life, we want to suggest to you what is presented here. With a better understanding of what life is all about, you will be able to throw out of your life those things that have been holding you back. So what they're saying here is, what I understand them to be saying is that what they are telling you here are things that were intended to be used for you as a focus for your attention. And having not only read the books but written them, I know that they discuss that frequently. These things are focuses. They want you to focus on them instead of trivia, football game, your kids' grades, who said what at what meeting, who said what at what party. Maybe focusing on something, putting your attention on something that they're suggesting might more benefit you, is what they're saying. And then they're trying, they're saying, hey, there are things in your life that you need to throw out because they're holding you back. Now, of course, we don't know where they're going now, but by the end of book 3, you'll pretty much know where they're going, and it would be good to remember this. There are things in your life that are holding you back, and this is what they're saying, and they're going to try to get you to focus on those things that would best give you a chance to not be held back. And they go on. The second thing to think about is people change very little in one lifetime. As you get older, you begin to realize that the concept of having only one lifetime to accomplish the transformation from what you are to a person acceptable to the God of man leaves all but a very few people banished to hell. We propose another concept. We propose that it takes many lifetimes to accomplish the task set before us. If that is so, then the question is, why does it take so long? Rather than getting into a long discussion about the big lie covered in Book 5, it is enough to say that there are too many distractions. Understand that we use the focus method to keep your attention on those things that help you understand what you are doing here and what might best be changed to get you where you are going. Change is slow. We expect a slow, steady flame, not a blinding light. To all those who are in a monkey hurry, sorry. Here again, they're saying, you have many lifetimes to accomplish this thing. You're not going to do it in a hurry, whatever this thing is, and you'll understand that by the time you get through with Book 3, you're not going to just fly through this. It's going to take time. And again, they're saying, understanding that, we're trying to use the focus method to keep your attention on those things that help you understand what you are doing here and what might best be changed to get you where you are going. So again, they point out the same thing they pointed out above. They're trying to get you to focus on those things that are going to best help you get on. And so now they go on. The last thing to understand, and perhaps the most important, is the fact that you are here to learn. The religious guilt has no place in the scheme of things as we see it. Mistakes and supposed sins of your life are stepping stones of learning, not stumbling blocks put there to trip you up. You're supposed to learn from the mistakes and sins, not wallow in them, knowing that what might sound like condemnation is not that at all, but rather a pointing out or a focus. We don't condemn any group. If in describing a group you see yourself in that group, remember, we are pointing at you and saying, this is what we see. If you like it, carry on. If not, change it. Guilt and self-condemnation serve no useful purpose. They are quite like worry in their uselessness. Don't take what we say and feel guilty. Rather, change, ever change. And here again, well, you know what they're pointing at here. Basically, they kind of wanted to say, don't sit there and say, oh, I know I'm doing wrong, but I just can't help it, and oh, I did this and that, and now it's too late to change it, and oh, no. They're not stumbling blocks to trip you up. It isn't a trap. You don't end up in molasses and you can't get out. The object is that you did make the mistake. You did do this thing wrong. You recognize it is wrong. You recognize it is not a good thing. And you can change. It's time to change. It's not time to wallow in it. It's time to change and do something constructive. So here again, focusing on changing instead of guilt and sin and the many things that hold you back. And they've gone to the focus method again and said, focus on change, focus on growth, forget guilt, forget sin, go on. And now we get to the actual Book 1. We've gone through kind of introductions to help you see where it is that we're going, and now we're going to go to Book 1 and the very beginning of Book 1. And I'll get right into it as there are things that I think might need to be explained a little bit, I'll explain them. So this is what they say. In the beginning there was nothing. Nothing. The nothing was less than the nothing we know, because we can compare our nothing with something to see that it's nothing. In the beginning there was nothing to compare the nothing to, and it was complete. With no light there was no darkness, no beginning, no end. Gray. In this nothingness there was a force which had not awakened yet and was sleeping. In its dreams the force was elsewhere doing other things. Eventually the dreaming moved to this place, and the force awoke. As the force became aware of this place, there formed a point of light. The nothingness became less than nothing, and still more than nothing. All things that happened at this point, and nothing occurred outside this point. And they go to explain now, in each stage of creation, that is the way it was. All activity occurred within that part that was in existence at the time. Thus the concept of dimensions, the first dimension being a point, the second a line, the third space, fourth time, fifth manifestation, the sixth creation or thought, and so on. So here they're telling you the stages of creation, and they're saying all activity occurred within each of these when they were in existence. And they go on. The point began to stretch and became a line, which reached to the ends of our universe. All the events that took place happened on that line, going or coming. The point again stretched, and another line perpendicular to the first line was created. At this point in creation, we have four lines intersecting at a point of origin, and these four lines became the foundation of the universe, or the four pillars as described in myth and legend. From these four lines or pillars, there formed lines which curved up and down to form what would look like the magnetic lines of force. And here they're going to describe for you what that means. You might remember the experiments performed in science class at high school using the magnet and iron filings on a piece of paper. The lines of force became visible as the iron filings clustered together to form lines on the paper. Remember that experiment? You kind of put iron filings on, and there was kind of a smooth, evenness of the iron filings. And you take this bar magnet and you place it up underneath the paper, and then you kind of tap the paper a little bit, and all of a sudden these iron filings start forming lines that kind of curve from one end or one pole of the magnet over, kind of up in a circular pattern to the other end, and these are called lines of force. Kind of what they're describing here is that you have four lines intersecting at the center point, which was where this light was, or where this force was. And then those lines themselves, if you looked at them as four magnets, also had these lines of force stretching out all the way around them out into the universe. And so then that's kind of the description they want you to get. And they go on and say then, with these lines, the force reached the ends of the nothing and thereby made contact with all of the dream. The force then created the fundamental laws of the universe that were designed to grow in complexity until the dream was finished. The simple became more complex and the universe began becoming. And then they say that, kind of to explain it, they say that in the beginning, the saying that in the beginning God geometrized makes more sense when it is understood that points, lines, and other geometric forms were the first things of creation. And then they go on. As the laws dictated, the four pillars began spinning in a counterclockwise direction slowly, ever so slowly. The force of rotation created swirls and eddies that became places of condensation or consolidation. These places became the growing grounds of the galaxies of the universe. So what they have here is these four pillars, if you will call them, stretching out from the center, which is where the force resided. And these four pillars had, we call them kind of magnetic lines, but anyway, some kind of lines coming off of them that came into contact with the entire universe. And when that was accomplished, these four pillars began spinning in a counterclockwise direction. Why counterclockwise? They always say those that know. Those that don't know will at some point in time. They say that over and over and over again. Those that know why it has to be counterclockwise, why they started spinning. But for us, if we don't know, at least we do know that if something spins, there's turbulence that comes in behind it, and that turbulence created a place of condensation or consolidation, which was the growing ground for all these galaxies, empty space, galaxies, turbulence, spinning. You can almost see that taking effect. So that's kind of the picture they're trying to give you. How did the galaxies get created? Four pillars of force, discussed in legend, and having read a fair amount of things, I do know that the four pillars are discussed. They're kind of confused sometimes, but the four pillars of creation, spinning counterclockwise, created the universe as we know it. And they go on. Some of the places that were created were beyond imagination. In size, some were so small that we could well walk on a million stars and never know they existed. As far as large, again, we may well be living on what some other being might consider an electron. Our imagination stretches, as we will still come nowhere near the limitless possibilities out there.